Hello and welcome to Valley Viewpoint. If you haven't noticed, winter is cold and flu season. Maybe you could even detect it still in my voice as I'm recovering from the cold and flu myself. To help us understand this particular problem, Dr. Donald Casebolt is with us today to talk about the disease and what we can and should be doing about it. Dr. Casebolt, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, tell us about the cold and the flu. What are the symptoms? How do we know when it's coming on? What should we do about it?
Well, obviously there's no flags or anything like that, and the flu may start out just like a common cold or something like to begin with, and maybe a little bit of a fever. And I'll have to say that I've never had the flu myself, thankful to various things, the flu vaccine included. But and they're sort of aching, and there may or may not be fever with it. And so, as I say, you may think I'm just coming down with a cold to begin with. But with some people, people can feel pretty miserable, as I think you found out.
Yes, I did. I mean, the congestion, difficulty breathing, that achy, tired feeling that seemed to accompany it, all those things were just very irritating to me.
Yeah.
What did I do wrong? What should I have done? Is there anything that we can do, or are we just victims? Is there anything in our diet, in our lifestyle? What can we do to at least minimize the effects?
Okay, well, first let me say that January, I often say that January is a month to be endured. And in January, we often see quite a bit of sickness. In fact, in my experience, I practiced almost 54 years, and the part of the problem is, we've had two holidays. We've had Christmas and New Year's. We've had people eating a lot of sweet stuff, and maybe irregular eating. And
are you saying that the sweet stuff is a no-no?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people don't realize how sweet sugar cuts down on the ability of the white blood cells to fight infection to a significant degree. And so, whatever, it's candy, pie, cookies, sweet drinks, these are all things that are going to lower your resistance. So that's one to think about.
So if we eliminate the sweets, or at least minimize the sweets, then our ability to fight infection is going to increase. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. That's the point. And then we have often irregularity of eating, and snacking and that sort of thing. We've got sometimes missing sleep, things going on, and staying up to see the new year in, all this sort of thing. And so there are actually a number of things that we need to think about. Now,
how important is the factor of rest?
Well, that is a very important factor, and people need to get, most people need to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep at night. And when we, the body has certain, our Maker made us in a certain way, and regularity is very important as far as I can see. It's been very important to me, and as I said, I have never had the flu and have not ever had any really serious illnesses, but I've tried to practice these health practices almost all my life, and so I've been spared serious illnesses.
Now you've mentioned that we need to eliminate the sugar.
Right.
That's a negative, something that we do away with. Is there anything that we should be eating more of that might assist our immune system?
Well, be eating the whole plant foods whole. That's what I espouse now, and there's more and more information coming out that if the processed foods are not good for you. The people who are going to the fast food places, and there's plenty of them doing that now, are not getting the best food. It's been processed. You eat white bread, and so you're missing out on some of the vitamins, and so these things are really important.
So donuts and coffee are not the best way to start the day.
Not at all. And I'm glad you mentioned the coffee, because I've done a lot of study on that particular subject, and that's one of the things that I suggest people should leave off. Of course, cigarettes are definitely a no-no, and alcohol is, it is not good, and the coffee is not good.
Now, when we talk about the coffee, is it the caffeine in particular, or which we get in other, many soft drinks are filled with caffeine besides just coffee?
Right. It's the caffeine primarily, yes. And people would be surprised at all the information, the negative information there is now. There's a lot that purporting to say that tells you that it's good for you, but there's actually more, but that gets put to the side. A lot of people don't know the information. And actually I spent probably 6 months searching the literature on that particular subject some years back, and found a number. And part of the problem is that the coffee industry took a lesson from the tobacco industry, which had put out 40 million documents trying to persuade people that secondhand smoke was was not bad for them. And the caffeine industry took a lesson from the coffee industry, from the tobacco industry, and has also corrupted the literature. And I have proof for that, but this is not the time nor the place to go into that.
Now, when a person has congestion, has respiratory problems, that can be complicated by other family members then who are smoking, because they are producing something that would be an irritant to that person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's not a good idea. And of course, thinking of that congestion, there are some things that, like a thermophore, what might help with people with having congestion. Are you?
I'm not familiar with that term, and probably people in our audience need an explanation as well.
Okay, well, a thermophore is a device that actually, I think, was developed by John Harvey Kellogg, the Battle Creek Sanitarium, and there is now a company called the Battle Creek company, and they sell these things, and it's a gadget that you can wrap around your chest, or if you have a backache, you can use it, and it provides moist heat, and it has been very helpful for some people.
Could you spell that for our audience? I'm sure there are some people who would probably like to go online and find out more about that, or how they can obtain that.
Okay, THERMOPHERE, and if they would just type in Battle Creek Company, I think they'd find it, and because they have them for sale. And as far as I'm concerned, you can get one of those thermophores, the large thermophore. Now it comes a small one like you can wrap around your neck, but the large ones are $65 or something, and they'll pay the shipping. And it's a very worthwhile thing to have, I think.
And I'm going to tell our audience right now that we have no financial part of the company. We're not trying to sell anything that would benefit us in any way. But this is just something that, as a physician, you've come across that has been beneficial to a number of people that are struggling with the kinds of problems we're discussing.
Yeah, it's very important. It's very important for people to know about that, because it's what I'd call a natural remedy, where you're not going to have to be taking pills or shots or whatever.
Now, let's talk about the medications. Are there some things that are better for us than others? What might you recommend in terms of medication?
Well, the first thing is, don't be wanting antibiotics unless you're really sure you need them. A doctor should make that decision. And here's one of the problems that we physicians have faced for way back is people come in and they want a quick fix. And a lot of people want antibiotics. And consequently, too many doctors have given in to that, unfortunately. And there's a real temptation. I've been through all that, and I resist giving antibiotics unless I'm sure that they've got a bacterial infection. The flu is a virus infection, and antibiotics don't work for viruses anyway. And so so the medications, if you may want to take some sort of a decongestant, you can buy an over-the-counter, something like that, and it may help some. The best thing is be adequate fluid intake. That's one thing that's, I think, very important for people. People ought to drink at a minimum of 5 cups or glasses of water a day. And you know, some people recommend 8. I try to get 5 a day myself. But so this is another thing. And when you're sick like that, you do need to rest get some extra rest. Don't try to keep on with your job or something like that.
So liquids, but water in particular,
Right.
is very important.
Right.
That we get plenty of fluid,
Right.
especially when we're sick. How about things like soup? Does that count?
Well, yeah, soup is good. That, of course, that gives you fluid. Hot soup would help, and that would give you extra liquid. I might share with the folks one of the things that I drink is purple grape juice. And I have, when I get up in the morning, I get a glass full of purple grape juice because it helps to prevent the platelets from clumping together. That's a whole different story.
Okay.
I don't want to get into that too much, but it's actually maybe better than aspirin for folks.
So is this Concord grapes that we're talking about?
Well, yeah, purple grape juice. It'd be Concord, Welch's, but you can buy at Walmart. We usually go and buy 4 of those big bottles and take them home, and then we'll each take a glass full of that grape juice.
And is it only that type of grape juice? In other words, the white grape juice doesn't have the same effect?
Well, the studies haven't been done on the white grape juice. That's all I can say.
Okay.
And there have been some on the purple grape juice. So, anyway, that's... and, you know, the other thing, we've talked about water, and there are some other things that I like to see people have in their house. I like to see them have a humidifier.
Oh.
Because in wintertime, the air is dry, and we have a humidifier in our house, and they're relatively inexpensive. It helps to moisten the air, so it doesn't dry out your nasal passages. Another thing that's good is for people to have houseplants.
Houseplants?
Oh yes, and houseplants can help to. They're making very good air cleaners, and not only substituting the carbon dioxide for the oxygen or vice versa, but they also use up the other noxious gases, especially manufactured homes, but a lot of homes will have some formaldehyde in the air or other noxious gases.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a humidifier. I can't remember. It costs about $130 or something, and you just use water in it, and it helps to keep the air moist.
So thus far, let's make sure we minimize our sugar.
Right.
Drink purple grape juice.
Yeah.
Get fresh air, and avoid unnecessary medications.
Right.
And you mentioned in particular, antibiotics are for one particular type of disease, which is not often what we experience in the cold.
Right.
Well, doctor, we're going to go to break right now. When we come back, we'd like to talk about some of the other natural remedies for building up our immune system, and also get to a question that a lot of people have about the efficacy of the flu shot. So don't go away. If you want to be healthy, you better stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Valley Viewpoint. If you are just joining us today, I am talking with Dr. Donald E. Casebolt. He is a medical doctor who has been in practice for a number of years and has treated many cases of cold and flu. So, doctor, we were talking about some of the things that we can do as natural ways of keeping our immune system at its best, ready to fight off the disease, and talking about some things that don't require medicine. Any body can do this. When you mentioned whole foods rather than processed foods, so leave the coffee and donut and get a bowl of oatmeal. Water, plenty of fluid, and the value of fresh air, and you mentioned that in the wintertime with the heat and so forth, it tends to dry out the air, so a humidifier can be a nice asset in the home.
Right.
What are some other things that we might be doing, planning for, in terms of the cold and flu season?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I like to use is what we call a mnemonic device. This helps me to remind me things that I should do, and I use the word New Start.
Okay.
That'd be familiar to some of the folks in the audience. And New stands for nutrition, E stands for exercise, W stands for water, S stands for sunshine, and we try to get as much sunshine. T stands for temperance, and for us that word temperance means the total absence from those things that are harmful, and use and moderation of those things that are good. A stands for air, fresh air, and by the way, when we go to bed at night, we always crack a window open in our sleeping room, close the doors so we have fresh air. R stands for rest and recreation, meaning getting enough sleep at night, adequate sleep, and taking a break, taking a vacation or do something like that. And then T, it depends a little bit. When I talk to some people on this particular thing, I like to ask, are you a religious person? If they are, or if they aren't, then I say, well, T stands for think good thoughts. But if they're a religious person, I say trust in God. You know, one of the things that keeps people upset is worry. And if people have a trust in God, that helps alleviate the worries that they have.
So does our mental state actually have an effect on our immune system?
It has a significant effect on our immune system. Oh, yes. Depression, or, you know, so in fact, the Bible addresses this issue, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine, and there's a lot of truth in that.
So could we assume that percentage-wise, if a person is depressed, if they have other mental states that are not at their best, that they might be more susceptible to cold and flu and these kinds of things?
Right, right. Yeah, that's certainly true. It's if people are downcast, worried, depressed, they're not going to be functioning at as good a level, and they'll be more apt to leave some of these other things off that we've been talking about. They may not feel up to that, or you know, just or may not be thinking along those lines. So we certainly want people to be happy, and I think that's part of, as I said, the part of the relationship with the Maker, if we're so oriented that way. Now, if they're not, then people can go to psychiatrists, or there's depression seminars, you know, that are available, and they can always seek the help of those individuals.
Now, I know this is anecdotal evidence, if you will. It's not part of any study, but I've noticed in my own experience that regular, vigorous physical exercise improves my mental acuity. And I don't know if other people experience that, but I find it to be a blessing just to get out and take a vigorous walk or a jog, especially when there's sunshine and fresh air, which we don't have as much of in the winter. I mean, we don't have as much sunshine. Is that typical of other people, or is that just me?
Exercise is very important. That was the number 2 thing, you know, and New Start was nutrition, and then exercise is very important, and you know, that's one of the things that can help people to keep from getting Alzheimer's disease is exercise. In fact, that's the number 1, that's the single most important thing that people can do, is be on an exercise program. And I have been exercised. I haven't missed a day, except for the days that I go to church. Every other day I've been out taking an exercise. I've gone for about a 30-minute brisk walk. Now, not everybody...
Even on the ice?
even on the ice.
Oh, that's commendable, because we've
Well,
had a lot of ice
Oh yeah,
this winter.
I have some gadgets I can put on my shoes so I can,
Oh, okay.
you know, the little spike things and so and people can do that exercise. I also have 2 dumbbells, 2 5-pound dumbbells that I can do like that. I do that 200 times in about 8 minutes. I couldn't when I first started, but people don't have to have dumbbells. They can take a couple of cans of soup or something like that and do exercise. And there are some people who, for one reason or other, may not be able to walk, but they can swim, or they can get on an exercycle or something like that.
Now, you mentioned sunshine, and during the wintertime, which is typically that cold and flu season,
Right.
we don't have as much sunshine. Some
Right.
years more than others,
Right.
but is there anything that we can do to compensate for the fact that nature does not supply as much sunshine during the winter months?
Well, there is something now. There's a condition called SAD. That's I'm trying to think now what that stands for. But you can get special lights that can give you something. Now, my youngest son worked for Portland Adventist Health in Portland, and there was a lot more rain there than he was used to, and he was had a problem with sort of a depression. He bought these special lights, so that and I have not investigated the cost of those, but that's one thing. Now, the other thing, of course, well, that doesn't give you sunshine, but people can go to the gym to get exercise, you know, when the weather is bad, and that's what my wife does, is she goes to the gym. But other than getting these special lights, I don't know of any other way to get. But if the sun is shining,
Take advantage.
Oh yes, that's right.
Now, a lot of our viewers are probably wondering about the efficacy of flu shots. There's a controversy here. Some people saying they're not any good. Well, I hear 3 things. One, they're positively detrimental to your health. Then I hear others saying they're the best thing since sliced bread. And then others simply say that, well, they don't really do any good anyway, so why bother?
Okay.
So, as a medical doctor, what advice would you give? And
I am definitely a proponent of vaccinations, including the flu vaccine. And I have just been I'm very well aware of these people who are saying that it's not any good. And when we need to think first about vaccinations as a whole.
Okay.
Millions of lives have been saved because of vaccinations. And the people I'm aware of a person who lives up in the north part of the state who's promoting and has some sort of a DVD that's supposed to tell you all the bad things about the vaccinations. And unfortunately, I spent a lot of time checking into that and found that, for one thing, they're dishonest about some of the things that they say. And I have plenty of proof of that. And so the evidence is very good that these do help. Now, when it comes to flu vaccine, I at one time did have questions about that myself. I practiced for 11 and a half years in Brewster, Washington, that group there. I think the vaccines were just coming out for flu, and I don't remember whether they used them, but I moved to Wisconsin and was a medical director for a 237-bed nursing home. I said, I'm going to try this out, the flu vaccine there. And so I gave it to the people who wanted it. And so the people who got the vaccine, either didn't get the flu, or if they got it, got a mild case. The people who didn't get the vaccine, we had a number of them that had the flu. Then I worked at the Monument Valley Adventist Hospital for 5.5 years, and we had a bad episode of flu there. And my wife and I had gotten the flu, and some of the staff didn't, and a number of them came down with a severe case of flu. Now, there is this question about there are some problems. I just want to read something. The flu vaccines, and this is from the literature, and there are several different vaccines. 4 different kinds that give protection, but there's one called H3N2 that it's variable. So some of the people who get the flu, they may be people who either are eating too much sugary stuff and not taking care of themselves otherwise, or they may have this variability that it's hard to provide protection for. They're still working on the idea. They're trying to get better protection. So
how does the vaccine work?
Well, it actually makes your body develop antibodies. That's what and antibodies are crucial for our lifestyle. I mean, for our bodies. And if you have a deficiency in antibodies for any reason, then you're going to be open to infections of various types. So that's just, they inject that, and that the body's immune system goes to work. And we have, fortunately, the normal person has a good immune system. He's born with a good immune system. Now, there are rare individuals who have some born with problems there, but in general, we have a good immune system.
Now, another question some of our viewers may have would be vitamins. Are they worth it?
Okay.
These tablets and whatnot,
okay.
capsules?
Vitamins are very important. And this sort of, we come to the subject of how much should we take. And there's been a lot of back and forth questions about this. And I've decided I take 1 multivitamin a day. And then I do take some other supplements just because I think I take vitamin D3, and I'm currently taking about 5,000 units three times a week. A lot of us don't get enough sunshine, especially in the northern latitudes.
Mm-hmm.
The other supplement that we take is flaxseed meal, which is very, very good for people. It helps you to function and probably has some antibacterial effects.
Well, Doctor, we want to thank you for all the valuable information that you have shared with us today. And we want to thank you for joining us on Valley Viewpoint. We hope that you will use the information that you've received in this program to live a healthier lifestyle. And if you have an idea, a concept for a future Viewpoint, why don't you contact us? You can call us at the station at 509-529-2149 or email me at valleyviewpoint.bmt.tv. For Viewpoint, I'm Dan Solis.